One scream, one threat, and in a flash, she was no longer a nurse. The recruits froze as she moved like someone who'd been in real war and won. Lieutenant Commander Victoria Viper Stone had been assigned to Naval Special Warfare Training Center in Coronado for exactly 15 weeks. At 5 feet 9 inches with platinum blonde hair pulled back in regulation style and steel blue eyes that seemed to analyze every situation with clinical precision, she moved through her medical duties with the kind of calm efficiency that made her presence both reassuring and authoritative. She carried her medical equipment with practiced ease, treated injuries with expert clinical care, and maintained the supportive presence that characterized dedicated military nurses. To the SEAL candidates and training staff, she was simply their assigned medical officer, competent, caring, and completely professional in her medical role. What made Lieutenant Commander Stone particularly effective, though few recognized it at the time, was her uncanny ability to maintain absolute situational awareness while performing medical duties. During Hell Week chaos, she would track multiple activities simultaneously while treating casualties. During weapons training exercises, she demonstrated peripheral vision that seemed almost supernatural. During complex training scenarios, she maintained tactical awareness that exceeded medical oversight requirements, constantly scanning for threats and developments that might create additional medical needs. Her medical bay was organized with military precision that exceeded standard requirements. Every piece of equipment had its designated place, every medical procedure was executed with obsessive attention to detail, and every emergency response was coordinated with efficiency that impressed even senior medical officers. But there were subtle differences that most people overlooked: reaction speeds that seemed exceptionally fast, threat assessment capabilities that exceeded medical training, and a personal readiness that seemed to come from experience far beyond medical education. The candidates knew her through routine medical encounters and professional observation. Ma'am, when they required medical attention; Lieutenant Commander Stone, when discussing her professional capabilities; or Doc Stone, in everyday conversation. None of them had questioned her background beyond standard medical training, though several had noticed she possessed unusually acute threat awareness and seemed to maintain readiness that exceeded typical medical officer protocols. But instincts honed in combat often remain hidden until the moment they're needed most, especially when they involve people whose warrior training remains carefully concealed behind compassionate professional assignments. Welcome to Silent Salute, where we uncover the extraordinary stories hiding behind ordinary military assignments. Before we dive into this incredible tale, tell us in the comments which country you're watching from today. And if you believe that true warriors never lose their edge, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. We're honored to share these remarkable stories with you. Naval Special Warfare Training Center in the fall of 2021 was operating under increasingly realistic training conditions designed to prepare candidates for actual combat environments. Home to the most elite naval warrior training programs in the world, the facility was implementing training scenarios that tested candidate responses to genuine threats while maintaining safety standards that protected personnel from unnecessary harm. The medical support required for such intensive training was comprehensive, demanding, and absolutely critical for maintaining both candidate safety and training realism. The daily rhythm at Coronado was relentless, but carefully orchestrated to build candidate capabilities through progressive exposure to realistic combat stress. Morning brought physical conditioning that pushed human endurance beyond normal limits, with candidates participating in beach runs, surf torture, log PT, and obstacle course exercises that tested every aspect of physical and mental resilience. Midday featured tactical training and weapons instruction that emphasized rapid threat response, including live-fire exercises, close-quarters combat drills, and reaction training that developed instinctive combat responses. Afternoon included specialized skills training that built operational capabilities under stress, such as combat diving, advanced medical training, and demolitions instruction. Evening brought psychological preparation and recovery periods that prepared candidates for escalating challenges. Through it all, Lieutenant Commander Stone provided medical support with steady professionalism that had characterized her entire assignment. Her medical expertise was universally respected, her emergency response capabilities were unquestioned, and her ability to handle any medical situation that arose during training impressed instructors and candidates alike. She could treat complex trauma while maintaining awareness of surrounding activities, coordinate medical evacuations without losing focus on potential threats, and provide medical oversight for dangerous training scenarios while constantly scanning for developing situations that might require immediate response. The training environment at Coronado was deliberately designed to replicate the unpredictability and immediate threat recognition required for actual special operations. Every exercise included elements that tested candidate ability to transition instantly from routine activities to combat readiness, developing the reflexes and threat assessment capabilities essential for survival in hostile environments. Lieutenant Commander Stone had established herself as more than exceptional medical support. She had become a stabilizing presence during the most chaotic training scenarios. Her ability to maintain composure while processing multiple simultaneous developments impressed instructors and candidates alike. She could anticipate medical needs based on threat development, position herself to provide optimal medical coverage while maintaining tactical readiness, and coordinate with training staff in ways that enhanced both safety and training realism. The candidates had formed clear impressions about her role and capabilities. She was outstanding medical support who understood the intensity and unpredictability of their training environment. Her medical knowledge was comprehensive, her situational awareness was remarkable, and her ability to remain calm under pressure was absolute. But she also possessed something that seemed almost preternatural, an ability to sense developing threats and react with speed that exceeded what medical training would develop. Her interactions with candidates revealed readiness that exceeded medical requirements. During medical treatment sessions, she maintained constant awareness of surrounding activities while providing care. During tactical training observations, she demonstrated threat assessment that enhanced both safety and tactical learning. During conversations about combat readiness, she displayed understanding of threat recognition and immediate response that suggested experience beyond medical education. Among the candidates was Petty Officer First Class Marcus Razor Martinez, a former Army Rangers veteran who'd served multiple combat deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan before applying for SEAL training. Martinez was highly respected by his fellow candidates for his combat experience and threat assessment abilities, and his observations of Lieutenant Commander Stone reflected growing recognition of her unusual capabilities. Doc Stone has the most acute situational awareness I've seen outside of actual combat veterans, Martinez had mentioned to his swim buddy during their 14th week. She tracks everything happening around her while providing medical care. Her threat assessment and reaction readiness exceed most combat personnel I've served with. Martinez's observation was more accurate than he realized. Lieutenant Commander Stone's situational awareness wasn't learned through medical training. It was combat-honed instinct developed through experiences that most medical personnel never encounter. Her threat recognition came from proven experience in environments where immediate response meant survival. Seaman First Class Jake Lightning Thompson, who'd served as a Navy security specialist before SEAL training, offered his perspective on Lieutenant Commander Stone's exceptional readiness. Some medical officers develop heightened awareness through deployment with combat units or specialized training assignments. Doc Stone's threat assessment and reaction capabilities suggest experience in environments where constant vigilance was essential for survival. But Thompson's theory, while logical, couldn't fully explain the specific type of readiness Lieutenant Commander Stone displayed, the kind that suggested not just combat experience, but proven effectiveness in situations where split-second reactions determine mission success and personal survival. There were details that, in retrospect, should have raised questions about her combat background. During tactical training observations, she positioned herself with instinctive tactical advantage that exceeded medical oversight requirements. During weapons familiarization, she demonstrated handling skills that suggested extensive combat experience rather than basic military training. During threat assessment discussions, she provided insights that indicated proven experience in recognizing and responding to hostile action. Her physical conditioning exceeded what most medical officers maintained, often demonstrating reflexes and reaction speeds that matched elite combat personnel. Her tactical movement during routine duties suggested training in combat positioning that exceeded medical education. Her threat scanning during training activities indicated experience in environments where constant vigilance was required for survival. Chief Petty Officer David Venom Stevens, a 23-year SEAL veteran who served as senior instructor, had noticed these details more than most. "There's something different about Lieutenant Commander Stone," he'd mentioned to the training officer during their weekly briefing. "Her readiness and threat assessment suggest combat experience that exceeds medical training. Her reaction capabilities and situational awareness indicate proven experience in hostile environments." Stevens' assessment identified the key characteristic that distinguished Lieutenant Commander Stone from other medical officers. Her combat readiness consistently exceeded what medical training would provide. Her responses to potential threats suggested experience with actual combat situations, and her interaction with tactical training personnel reflected knowledge that came from proven combat effectiveness rather than academic study. Master Sergeant Tom "Warrior" Wilson, who had 30 years of special operations experience and had served with the most combat-experienced personnel in the military, had also observed Lieutenant Commander Stone's unusual capabilities. "She maintains combat readiness that exceeds medical personnel," Wilson had told the training commander during their monthly assessment meeting. "Her threat recognition and reaction capabilities suggest she's been tested in actual combat situations and proven effective under hostile fire." Wilson's observation reflected recognition that Lieutenant Commander Stone's readiness exceeded medical officer qualifications and suggested combat experience that had been tested under actual hostile conditions. The incident that would reveal everything occurred during advanced tactical training in Week 15, when a genuine security threat would test every aspect of training readiness and force Lieutenant Commander Stone to demonstrate capabilities that would shock everyone who witnessed them. The training exercise was designed to test candidate response to unexpected threats while maintaining tactical coordination under realistic stress conditions. The scenario included multiple training areas with candidates operating in small units while responding to simulated hostile action that tested their ability to transition instantly from routine activities to combat readiness. Lieutenant Commander Stone was providing medical oversight for the exercise, positioned in the central training area where she could monitor multiple candidate teams while maintaining readiness to respond to medical emergencies. Her role required coordination with training staff while maintaining tactical awareness of developments across the entire exercise. During the most complex phase of the exercise, an actual security incident occurred that transformed training simulation into genuine threat response. An unidentified individual breached facility security and entered the training area with hostile intent, creating immediate danger to candidates and training personnel. The security breach was detected by perimeter systems, but the intruder had advanced into the training area before security forces could intercept. Armed and displaying obvious hostile intent, the intruder posed immediate threat to multiple candidates who were engaged in training activities and unaware of the developing danger. The first indication of genuine threat was a scream from a candidate who encountered the armed intruder at close range. The sound immediately distinguished itself from training simulation, carrying genuine terror that indicated real rather than simulated danger. Lieutenant Commander Stone's response to that scream was instantaneous and revealed combat capabilities that shocked everyone who witnessed them. In the split second following the scream, Lieutenant Commander Stone transformed from medical officer to combat operator with speed and precision that seemed supernatural. Her transition was immediate and complete, demonstrating combat reflexes that exceeded anything training could develop. Moving with tactical precision that revealed extensive combat experience, she closed the distance to the threat while drawing a sidearm with expertise that indicated proven combat effectiveness. Her movement was fluid, efficient, and demonstrated tactical capabilities that exceeded most military personnel. Hostile contact. All candidates take cover immediately. Lieutenant Commander Stone commanded with tactical authority that came from proven combat leadership. Her voice carried command presence that demanded instant obedience and reflected experience leading personnel under actual hostile fire. Her tactical approach to the armed intruder was textbook perfect, demonstrating combat techniques that indicated specialized training in hostile threat neutralization. She used terrain advantage, tactical positioning, and threat assessment that suggested extensive experience in actual combat situations. Within seconds, Lieutenant Commander Stone had neutralized the threat using non-lethal techniques that demonstrated both combat effectiveness and tactical restraint. The armed intruder was subdued and secured before security forces arrived, with no injuries to candidates or training personnel. Threat neutralized. One hostile secured. No friendly casualties. Request immediate security response for custody transfer and threat assessment. Lieutenant Commander Stone reported with tactical communication that reflected proven experience in combat operations. The entire sequence had lasted less than 30 seconds, but it demonstrated combat capabilities that exceeded anything the candidates or instructors had imagined possible from medical personnel. The candidates who witnessed Lieutenant Commander Stone's tactical response stood frozen in amazement at combat performance that exceeded their understanding of medical officer capabilities. Her transition from medical duties to combat effectiveness had been instant and absolute. Doc Stone just neutralized an armed threat with combat skills that exceed most special operations personnel, Martinez said quietly to his teammates. Her tactical response and combat effectiveness suggest proven experience in actual hostile situations. Chief Stevens, who had witnessed the entire tactical engagement, recognized that Lieutenant Commander Stone's combat performance revealed background that exceeded anything he had suspected. Lieutenant Commander Stone, Stevens said with obvious respect and amazement, your tactical response and combat effectiveness suggest military experience that exceeds medical training. Your threat neutralization capabilities indicate proven combat experience at special operations levels. Lieutenant Commander Stone's response began to provide insight into background that most medical personnel never encounter. Chief Stevens' previous assignments required medical personnel to function with combat capabilities when operational situations demanded tactical response. Medical support in hostile environments often requires combat effectiveness that exceeds standard medical training. But Stevens recognized that Lieutenant Commander Stone's explanation, while accurate, didn't fully reveal the extent of her combat experience or the specialized training that had enabled such immediate and effective threat response. Later that afternoon, Stevens received authorization to access classified personnel records that revealed information explaining Lieutenant Commander Stone's exceptional combat capabilities and tactical background. The classified records disclosed that Lieutenant Commander Stone had served multiple combat deployments with special operations medical units that operated in the most hostile environments. Her medical training was enhanced by specialized combat instruction that prepared medical personnel to function as both trauma specialists and combat operators during special operations missions. Her true service record included combat operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and other classified locations where medical personnel were required to provide trauma care while engaging hostile forces. Her combat experience encompassed proven effectiveness in situations where medical duties and combat operations were integrated under actual hostile fire. The records revealed that Lieutenant Commander Stone had been decorated for combat actions that included neutralizing hostile threats while providing medical care to wounded personnel under fire. Her specialized training had prepared her to function as both medical specialist and combat operator during the most dangerous special operations missions. Stevens immediately requested a private meeting with Lieutenant Commander Stone to discuss her combat background and tactical experience. Understanding that her capabilities represented training and experience that exceeded most military personnel. Lieutenant Commander Stone, Stevens said during their private conversation, learning about your combat background explains everything we observed about your tactical readiness and threat response capabilities. Your combat experience exceeds most active special operations personnel. Lieutenant Commander Stone accepted the opportunity to discuss her background and the specialized training that had prepared her for integrated medical and combat operations. Chief Stevens, the operations I participated in required medical personnel who could provide trauma care while engaging hostile forces simultaneously. Combat medical support often involves tactical response that exceeds conventional medical training. Over the following days, more details about Lieutenant Commander Stone's background began to emerge through official channels and conversations with personnel who had clearance to discuss her classified combat record. Her combat experience was extraordinary, even by special operations standards, and her tactical expertise had contributed to mission success during some of the most dangerous special operations missions. Her service record included combat actions that demonstrated both medical excellence and combat effectiveness under hostile fire. What we're learning, Stevens explained to his training staff during a classified briefing, is that Lieutenant Commander Stone represents combat medical capabilities that integrate trauma care with tactical operations. Her experience demonstrates how medical personnel can be trained to function as both medical specialists and combat operators. Her assignment to SEAL training was designed to provide medical support that understood the realities of combat medical operations while evaluating training effectiveness from the perspective of someone who had proven medical and combat capabilities under actual hostile conditions. Upon learning about the candidate's recognition of her combat capabilities, Lieutenant Commander Stone worked with the training staff to develop enhanced combat medical training that incorporated lessons learned from actual special operations where medical and combat duties were integrated. The operations I participated in, Lieutenant Commander Stone explained to the candidates during a special training session, taught me that effective special operations medical support requires personnel who can provide trauma care while maintaining combat effectiveness. Combat medical operations often require immediate transition between medical duties and tactical response. Her enhanced training scenarios included realistic combat medical situations where candidates had to provide medical care while under simulated hostile fire, tactical medical evacuation procedures that required combat movement, and decision-making exercises where medical priorities had to be balanced with tactical requirements under combat stress. The training instructors who learned about Lieutenant Commander Stone's combat background became eager students of her integrated medical and tactical expertise. Her combat experience was integrated with their training knowledge, creating educational opportunities that reflected the complex requirements of actual special operations medical support. Working with Lieutenant Commander Stone, Stevens told the candidates, demonstrates why special operations medical support requires personnel who can integrate trauma care with combat effectiveness. Her experience represents the highest standards of combat medical operations that define special operations excellence. The candidates quickly learned that Lieutenant Commander Stone's combat experience provided insights that enhanced every aspect of their tactical and medical training. Her understanding of combat medical operations, threat response, and tactical coordination under hostile fire created learning opportunities that exceeded anything available through conventional training. Martinez, who had recognized Lieutenant Commander Stone's tactical readiness, became one of her most dedicated students. "Ma'am, your combat experience has completely changed how I understand tactical medical operations. Your proven effectiveness under hostile fire provides insights into combat readiness that we could never develop through conventional training." Thompson, who had theorized about her specialized background, gained new appreciation for combat medical expertise. "Lieutenant Commander Stone, your tactical capabilities that I attributed to specialized training, now I understand they came from proven combat effectiveness in special operations that exceeded most military experience." Stevens, who had recognized her combat readiness, found his assessment confirmed beyond his expectations. "Ma'am, working with you has shown me that the most effective combat medical personnel are those whose capabilities have been proven under actual hostile fire." The enhanced combat medical training programs that Lieutenant Commander Stone developed were eventually adopted throughout Naval Special Warfare Command, establishing new standards for integrated medical and tactical operations that prepared SEAL operators for combat medical requirements under hostile conditions. Her training methods influenced special operations medicine worldwide and enhanced the effectiveness of combat medical personnel in environments where medical duties and tactical operations had to be integrated seamlessly. Her combat experience became a symbol of the integration of medical excellence with combat effectiveness that defined special operations medical support. The story of Lieutenant Commander Stone's revealed combat background became legendary at the training facility, shared with new classes as an example of how combat experience often serves through assignments that conceal proven tactical capabilities behind medical responsibilities. The most important lesson you can learn here, instructors would tell new candidates, is that combat effectiveness often comes in unexpected forms. The person providing your medical support might be someone who's proven tactical capabilities under hostile fire that exceed most special operations personnel. Years later, when Lieutenant Commander Stone transitioned to other assignments, her legacy lived on in the enhanced combat medical training programs she developed and in the understanding that true combat effectiveness often requires maintaining readiness while serving through whatever assignments best support current operational requirements. Her story reminded everyone that in naval special warfare, as throughout the special operations community, the most dangerous assumptions are those made about medical personnel who seem to fit perfectly into support roles, because the most exceptional combat veterans are often those who choose to serve through assignments that hide their extraordinary tactical accomplishments behind compassionate professional responsibilities. Lieutenant Commander Stone's revealed combat background became synonymous with the understanding that special operations effectiveness requires personnel whose combat capabilities transcend professional assignments and remain ready to respond to genuine threats when required. Her example demonstrated that the most effective military installations are often protected by personnel whose combat experience remains carefully concealed behind routine professional duties. The moment when she had snapped into combat mode in response to genuine threat had lasted only seconds, but its impact continued for years, reminding everyone that combat instincts honed through actual hostile fire never disappear, and that the people trusted with medical responsibilities may be the ones with the most proven combat effectiveness to share about winning. When everything was on the line, the sight of medical personnel transitioning instantly to combat operator had demonstrated not just individual capability, but broader understanding of how combat experience creates readiness that transcends official assignments. Lieutenant Commander Stone's willingness to serve through medical assignments showed that true combat effectiveness continues through whatever roles best serve current operational requirements. The enhanced combat medical training protocols that emerged from Lieutenant Commander Stone's experience created new standards for special operations preparation that recognized the value of training informed by actual combat experience under hostile fire. Her methods were studied and implemented across multiple special operations services, establishing her as a pioneer in integrated combat medical operations. The candidates who trained under Lieutenant Commander Stone's enhanced programs consistently demonstrated superior performance in combat medical procedures, threat response, and tactical coordination under stress compared to candidates trained under conventional methods. Her influence on special operations training extended far beyond the specific incident that had revealed her combat background. Martinez, who had recognized her tactical readiness, eventually completed SEAL training and became a combat medical specialist himself. Throughout his career, he credited Lieutenant Commander Stone's example with teaching him that combat effectiveness requires maintaining readiness regardless of current assignment. Lieutenant Commander Stone didn't just teach me about combat medical operations, Martinez would tell his team members years later. She taught me that true combat veterans never lose their edge, regardless of their current assignment or responsibilities. Thompson, who had theorized about her specialized background, also completed SEAL training and advanced to tactical medical positions. His experience learning Lieutenant Commander Stone's true background influenced his approach to combat readiness throughout his career. What I learned from Lieutenant Commander Stone, Thompson would explain to junior medical personnel, is that combat effectiveness requires constant readiness to transition instantly from any assignment to tactical response when genuine threats emerge. This story was brought to you by Silent Salute. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever witnessed someone instantly transform from their routine role into combat mode when faced with genuine threat? Have you encountered people whose combat instincts remain sharp despite serving in non-combat assignments? Tell us in the comments about the moments when you realized someone possessed combat capabilities that far exceeded their current role. And if you believe that true warriors never lose their edge regardless of assignment, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. Every story reminds us that combat instincts honed through actual hostile fire remain ready to respond, and that the people we notice least may be the ones with the most proven combat effectiveness when genuine threats emerge. We'll see you in the next story, where we'll discover another incredible tale of hidden combat expertise and instant tactical response.